Marcia, aka Anloam, and welcome to my studio. Today is part 2 of our still life that we are doing in conjunction with my niece for Let's Begin Painting with Acrylics. We have a couple of things to talk about. One, here is the dry. This has been dry for quite a few days. Actually, it's been more than a week since I worked on it, and I didn't protect my paints, so they dried to my palette, which kind of irritates me, but it's my own fault for not protecting them. So what I'm going to do is, in fast forward, I'm going to remix my colors. So I'm going to need the yellow, red, blue, black, white, a green, an orange, a purple, and a brown. So I'm going to do that in fast forward because I already showed you how to do that in part 1. You can go see that right there. So yeah, you can reuse your palette paper by just peeling off the old paint. And because I'm going to be making the exact same colors, I'm just going to leave it here, and then I'll know if I've closely matched it or not. There we go. So it's not a huge deal. I had just hoped that I would be able to reuse the same colors, but we're going to have to remix. So we'll do that and fast forward. And there you go. As you can see, I make a mess when I mix. I normally don't pre-mix colors. I usually mix them as I go, but for a beginner class, you kind of need to have your paints out or they start to dry and people get stressed. So it is good to have your paints pre-mixed. I just forget that I run out of room and I make too much paint and then I make a mess. But this is what you should have: black, yellow, red, blue, white. 2 purples, a dark and a light, 2 oranges, 2 greens, and 2 browns. So that should give you plenty to work with on our painting. Here is our painting. So we had the background done. We did the table. We did part of the shadow. We'll probably have to do a little bit, another layer. We did the shadow on the bowl, probably do another layer. And we had the background for the grapes and the apples, and we were going to turn that orange into an apple. So today we're going to finish these off, add in a banana, an orange, and a pear, and quite possibly a plum if there's room. I don't think I left enough room because the space here and the space here are different sizes. I didn't keep an eye on that when I did it. Anyways, Gina showed me her painting and it looked really cool. It looked good. She did a really good job recreating this exact background. So I'm just going to put my reference photo over here. So the first thing I think we're going to do is we're going to finish up the apples. So I'm going to use my filbert brush. So this is the number 4 filbert, so it's got that rounded tip. I need some paper towel. damp brush. All right. So, actually, I should probably zoom in a bit here because we're going to be working right on the apples. There we go. So we did the green background, so now we're going to do a little bit of bright red, but it's kind of a purpley red. So I'm probably going to end up mixing a little bit of this red and a little bit of this purple to come up with a tone that I like. So I have a craft mat here, so I usually mix on the side, but you won't be able to see that because I've zoomed in. But I just want to get a reddish purple tone. Not purple, but a darker tone. You see how that's not bright red, it's kind of a darky red. So that's what we're going for. So I've mixed up just a little bit here. Okay. So this part stays green. We're just going to do some strokes like this with the red in the shape of the apple. This will help us establish shape. So here we are in the middle. This is where the green is. So I'm going to pull out like this. Pull out like this. Pull out like this. It's okay if you go over this one because we will do that one after. This doesn't look like it's in focus. I guess it is. Maybe it's me. So I'm just going to go around. Yee! Okay, when you make a mistake, a clean damp brush will help you erase because the background is dry. So I went over the orange with that red. So a clean damp brush will let you lift paint. I don't know if I told you that in the first video or not. There we go. So we're trying to make this apple look round. I don't have enough paint at the tip. Sometimes I get paint in the brush and I don't keep enough paint at the tip of the brush. And that's where I can make my shapes. So I want to pull in the shape of the apple like this. And a little bit of damp, make the paint move. And I want to get my shape. Don't worry about the apple in the front. We will paint over that again. I'm more interested in the shape and the way I'm pulling it to make it look round. Now, my apple is this red. Your apple can be any shade of red that you like. If you don't like the shade of the apple, you can lighten it, darken it. It can be green, it can be yellow, it can be whatever you want. But for me, this shape is good. All right. Now I'm going to start pulling in to the middle where that stem is. Like that. Just to kind of make it blend a bit. You don't want just a stark line. And it's a little bit darker along this edge. Like this. Like that. That really isn't in focus. Oh, well, it kind of is. Maybe it's the background. Sorry about that. There we go. One apple shaped item. Now, clean your brush. Before that dries, go take a little bit of the green that you had originally done the background with, just a little bit, and just a little bit of pull, a little bit of blend, just so it doesn't look like it ends abruptly. How's that? Do you see that? Just a little bit of blend, and then you can go back. You can always add a little bit more red. You just want to pull in the shape of the apple. See how right here there's still some of the green from the background showing? It's all good. Wash the brush. Dab, dab, dab. I'm going to grab the smallest amount of the light brown that we created and just darken in here a bit. Oh, I'm going to need a little bit of the dark brown. Just a tad. Just a little smidge, just to get in there and darken where the stem is eventually going to be. Does that make sense? Because you're going to have a shadow there. There's a little bit of a shadow right in here. And if you are struggling with the filbert brush, you can always get the smaller flat brush. Just dampen it and you can use that to pull if you find it's easier to get into that small shape. A little bit more red up here. Now don't worry about the highlights yet. We're going to do them last. So that's where the shines are. We'll worry about that last. Now there's a little bit of flecking here. I don't know if you can see that, where the green is showing through the red. If you want, excuse me, you can take your pointy brush, dampen it, dip it into a little bit of that light green, and just add like the smallest little greenish dots. Don't worry if they're too big or too small. You can always fix it later. We're looking more for the shape right now. The shape of the apple, which is, I have to be honest with you, right here on the edge, it doesn't look round here. I want it to look round. Like that. My brush was a little bit too wet for that. Dab, dab, dab on paper towel. A little bit more red down here. Maybe streak a couple of those dots. And just with my really little pointy brush, I just want to get into here and smooth that circle a little bit. So it's nice and round. Like that. There we go. Don't worry, we can come back and add more color, more marks, more everything. Oh yeah, see that's way too, see how it's too wet and it's pulling up the paint, so just leave it alone and we're gonna go on to the next one. We're actually gonna work on this one over here to give this side a chance to dry. Now there is, because it was an orange, there is no apple, so you can paint it any way you want. You can paint it with no stem area showing. Oh, I'm gonna have to mix up a little bit more red, a little bit more of the dark purple, a little bit of water. And as you know, I need to turn my painting. So I'm going to go in for the shape. And then just try to make this look like the back end of an apple. Don't worry about the grapes too much because the grapes will go in front. Now I'm going to put some that had too much water in it. When it's not sticking to the bottom layer, there's usually too much water. There we go. You just want to make it apple shaped. And of course, apples aren't round anyways. Take a little bit of the green. I'm just going to make a little line and then smear it a little bit with the red brush. See how that creates a little bit of 3D depth? Just a little bit. Again, it's in the background. The grapes are going to go in front and a few other things are going to happen. I'm just going to put a couple of little dots and we'll highlight it later. I just want to smear this with a little bit of the red. There we are. Get right in there. Woo! Nope, I over smeared. That's okay. Take some more red. Oops, I forgot to mix it with the purple. Just keep going until you get the shape and color that you want. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's in the background. I've changed my mind. I've decided I can't tell that this is an apple. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of the green and mix it with the red that I've been using. And I'm actually going to create a place where the stem goes. Right in here. Right in here. And this changes the shape a little bit. A little bit of that brown. This is where the stem's going to go. So then I'm just pulling this out. There we go. We will come back and add some more to that. There's too much paint right now. All right. This is an apple and this is an, oops, wrong end. This is an apple, this is an apple. So I'm in fast forward, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to pick an area for where the stem is, if I'm going to pick an area, and we're going to use the red and the light green and fill in these apples. If I run into an issue, I will stop the camera and we will discuss. But it's basically the same thing. Oops, way too much paint on my brush. In here just a few little dots with the brown to establish that that is the darkest part right there. Although that looks looks a little bit too much like a tomato. So I will lift some. It's a wonderful thing with acrylic paint. It's very forgiving. There, just like that. Just a little bit. All right. This last one here, this last apple here is sitting right up beside this one, and it's covering that one. And you see that white line, that highlight? We will do that last. So we just have to, again, establish our shape and have a slightly different tone than the apple it's coming over, so that we can see the difference. This one is too red, adding a little bit of purple. Not worried about the grapes because the grapes are going to be painted over it. All right. Now, same thing. The middle on this one is right here. There is a middle section right here. And I'm just going to pull that out. And again, apples are all shapes. That's blending a little bit too much. That's okay. When it dries, we come back. We'll add a little bit of yellow, a little bit more green, and we'll darken up the middle. That's what we're looking at right now. Clean, clean. Come back to this one. This one needs a little bit more red in it. It's too purpley. And it's going to be behind the grapes, so I don't have to worry about that. And I do want to add on of green dots and some streaking. I think the streaking really helps establish that it's an apple. And then I have too much water in my brush. Here. We need there, like that. And a dark area for where the stem is going to be. And since I don't have a picture of this apple because it used to be an orange, you can make it look any way you want. I'm going to enlarge that dark area. I'm going to just establish this dark area. We can always come back. And I'm going to establish this dark area. I seem to be struggling with that. I always do. Again, not a realism painter by trade. I'm abstract, but these are the things that I learned in school. Now, one of the things I don't like about this is it almost looks like I've put all of the dots in the same place except that one. That bothers me a little bit. They all look like they're in the middle. So I'm going to correct this one. I'm actually going to repaint over this one. I'm going to establish this plum right here. This plum is a dark purple right here. It's a very dark purple. And there isn't too many distinguishing features except for highlight. So what I'm going to do is just establish it right here beside this apple, because I don't think I'm going to play with that apple in the background too much. I kind of like the way it's turned out. So I'm going to too red, too red, too red, too red. Add more purple. Just establish this shape right here. There's going to be a pear in front of it, so I don't have to worry too much about it. There, we like that. I like the color. I like the shape. And if you take a look here, there is not much difference. There's a little bit of kind of a whitish yellow here and the highlights, and that will be done later when we're highlighting. But it's nice that this is established so we know where to put the grapes. All right, wash that off. I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to change the spot where the darkness is on this one, because in the middle it just didn't look right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it there, and when that dries we will take the yellow out from there and it'll change the way that apple faces. All right, the bananas, because this is dry here. The banana, everyone thinks bananas are yellow, but if you take a really good look, they're kind of a greenish yellow. So we're going to use our light green that we've been using in the apples, and we're going to put this shape in, and we'll let that dry, and then we'll do the highlighting with yellows and whites. So this is the light green that I made. And actually, I'm going to zoom out so we can just see in the big scheme of things. Oops. So here we have this curve. Starts here. Like that. And this is going to be where the stem is. Right here. We'll go over this with dark when it's done. As you can see, the stem, the dried out. But we have this straight run here. And then this. Oh, needs some water. Paint's not moving. Let me turn this way. So this banana is about this big. goes all the way along in here. There we go. There's our first banana shape. And it's greenish yellow. So there's the stem. Here's the, well, I don't know what the, yeah, I guess it is the stem that attaches it to the bunch. Just think this needs to bulge out a little bit more here. I don't think I've ever painted a banana before. I think this is my first banana painting. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised by how little yellow is actually in the color of a banana. It's really a greenish yellow. There we go. That is blocked in. Okay, then there's another one right beside it. So it's going to come this way. And it's going to bulge this way and then come down this way. And it's going to come in right past here. And the second one comes right up against the first one. So now you know why I told you not to worry too much about that apple. And I'm going to, I think what I'm going to do is, like right here we said we were going to put another apple. I don't know if that's going to happen now, because what I might do is just bring the banana in here and bring the grapes over it. We might just make a bigger bunch of grapes. So I'm going to just end that right here. And what we'll do is when this is dry, we will establish a dark line and then highlight with the yellow. Get that right over there, get that there. There, that's pretty good. What else should we do while we're waiting for the banana to dry? All right, I'm going to turn the camera off, let this dry, and then we'll come back. Okay, we're back. This is dry. I am really needing to fix this apple up here, but the first thing I've noticed is that it is too dark. It's too purpley. So I'm just taking some of the straight red and I'm adding some clean water to it to thin it out a bit. And I'm just going to put like a little wash of red over it to try and just bring back the red from the purple. So I'm just going to put a little bit of red over it. Now in this apple there's a ring of dark where the shadow is. So I'm not too worried about the rest of the apple being too dark, but right here on the top, I would like it to be a little redder. This one's not too bad. I'm just going to put a little bit of red over it just to gloss it up a bit. This apple actually, once it dried, it turned out really well. At first I thought it was going to be too tomatoey, but it actually turned out really well and I like it. So I'm going to leave that one alone. And these will continue to come back. What I want to do is also, I want to do the grapes right now. This color right here, I'm going to use the light purple that we created. And I'm going to go over these with the light purple now, after I wash the red out of my brush. And start establishing individual grapes. Doesn't have to look exactly like this bunch. You're not going to have the same number of grapes. It's okay. I'm going to just take a bunch of this paint and put it right here where it's easy for me to get to. And this, I'm using the filbert brush again because it has the round tip. So I'm just going to go over there. There's a grape. Just very lightly. There's a grape. There's a grape. There's a grape. Right in here, there's a grape. See right here how it's light here and dark here? So we're just going to paint the light part. There's a grape. And I'm going to just go over this here, the edge of the apple. There's a grape. And over here, there's a grape. So it kind of is over the edge of the apple. And again, we're going to come back and we'll put the little highlights on it and the white highlights, and it will continue to establish the shapes as grapes. So right here, there's a grape. And so that's right here is the round end of this grape here. Like that. Here's a grape. There's a grape going over this way. I will wait. This, you can't see the end of that grape, so this is basically the end of this grape going in. So it's not quite round end, it's kind of ovally. Here's a grape. And here's a grape. Over the edge of the plum, like that. And I'm going to put the round end of another grape right here. It's a non-existent grape in my picture, but don't worry about it. Again, it's a bunch of grapes. I'm going to put one right here. I might not see it later once the pear is on, but let's just establish that grape there. There. Okay. Rinse. We're going to let that dry. We're going to hit these bananas. So, the yellow that I told you to pick up, this medium yellow cad, is an extremely transparent yellow. It doesn't hold its color as well as one would hope. So generally I will mix in some of the titanium white to opacify it, to make it more opaque so that it's not as see-through. It changes the color of it a little bit. It pastelizes it, it will lighten it, but you can always add a little bit more yellow. The yellow's very, very transparent, and we can't do things with it if we can't put it over other colors. So just add a little bit of white to it, mix it up. You can see, right? Paint moves off my palette and it moves onto my craft mat. All right, let me clean that off. What I want to do is use this yellow to establish the edge of my bananas. So I'm going to turn this like this. And I'm using the liner brush again because I use brushes that are smaller than they need to be because I feel I have better control. You can use your filbert or you can use your flat brush, whatever you're comfortable with. Obviously on a bigger painting, I use bigger brushes. So basically what I want to do is just come in with the yellow and establish a little bit of the edge here. Just kind of gently blending it. Well, we're not really blending it because the bottom part is dry, but just very lightly establishing the edge of the banana because right up here it's quite yellow. Like that. Oops, and I just put my hand into my purple grapes. Be careful. Like that, and right up here. It doesn't matter how much yellow I put up here, we're going to be putting brown over it. This stays darker, so you want the right side of the banana. Add some clean water and just very gently come down here and put a little bit of yellow to highlight your banana. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other banana, just a little bit of yellow so we can differentiate between the two bananas. And there's some yellow here, right here, the highlight right there, the yellow. And down here there's some yellow where the light is hitting. So we're just going to put a little bit of yellow down this side. Doesn't matter because eventually this is going to get either covered up by grapes or I don't know if we're going to do that orange. I think it's probably going to end up, I'll move some grapes down here like this. Now, I'm going to let that dry for a second. I'm going to flip my apples over. I'm not super happy with my apples, but that's okay. We're going to put a little bit of the green and a little bit of the yellow. And we're going to try and re-establish that this is an apple. I do use my fingers for blending sometimes. It's okay. So over here, I need to really re-establish that here. I can always add some more dark later. Just gonna smudge it a bit down here. Make some of the dots that were there before. Make some dots down here, just tiny, 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 tiny little dots to make it look like the green is coming through. And again, I will keep coming back until I'm happy with the color. Just maybe here a little bit more. There we go. Trying to kind of create a little bit of the shine. And once it's dry, I'll put another layer of red over it. There, just like in there. All right, clean that. We're going to use the dark brown. Actually, let's use the light brown first that we created. And we're going to paint in this part of the bananas. Now it's green along the edge here, and it's the light brown. Kind of goes down a little bit into the it's not the apple, the banana. You can see how it comes down a little V where it got broken off. It comes quite close to the edge on this side. I'm just dabbing because this is kind of textury anyways. And then I'm going to add some of the dark brown. Not a lot, just a little bit. Mix them together. Establish the darker brown, and we'll darken it up some more so it matches. Dabbing up and down to kind of give it the texture here that it has. We're not going for total realism. We're going for an impressionistic view of the bananas. So I'm just going to tap it up and down here to give it the same texture that it has right there. A little bit more dark. I want to get it right dark here at the edge the way it is in the picture. And establish that this is the actual end right here. It's much darker. I'm going to add a little bit of black, not much. That might have been too much. Let me add some more of this. My poor little liner brush. It was never meant to do this. And there we go. Right at the end. A little bit darker. There we go. Now I have to wash out my liner brush. It's absolutely full of paint. So when you wash your brushes, make sure you get all the paint out. You don't want the paint to stick inside and dry, and then you'll never get your little brush back down to the nice point it has. Okay, if you see right here, there's dark brown, and right here there's dark brown, and in between the two bananas is the dark brown. That's what we're going to be doing next. So I'm taking a little bit of the dark brown. I'm not going to use my liner brush because I don't want it to get clogged, but just put a little bit of dark brown here, and I'm going to mix some clean water with it and thin it just a bit so that it'll be easier for me to use the liner brush. This actually needs a little bit of black to darken it. There, that's not too bad. Let me start with that. Get a little bit on the end of the brush, and we're going to establish the dark side of the banana. Just like that. And right here, just like that. See, right in there. That's pretty good. Let's turn this around. That's not bad. All right, right here in the middle. So it starts out kind of as a shadow. And then, I'm gonna have to turn it this way, I apologize. And then we have, oops, a little bit of water, a little bit of paint, bring that to a point, and then just swoop it down. It should have gotten thinner at the end, not thicker, because I pressed too hard. So I'm just going to take my clean brush with water. Nope, that's not going to be heavy enough. This one here, clean brush with water, and just erase a little bit of the dark. I don't know if you can see that. I'll pick it up in a second. There. Whoop. See, like that? Perfect. Okay. So I just have to go back up here and fix the shadow a bit. It's a little bit thicker up here. There we go. Look at that. We now have some bananas. And as soon as that dries, we will put that little white highlight right there, and the banana will be done. This is awesome. All right, I'm still not happy with the color of this apple here. Let me take some red. I'm going to add the tiniest amount of white to opacify this. Just a little bit so I can get it to sit on top of the other colors. Now again, see how it's dark here? So I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to go just halfway like that. So the red that's too dark will become the shadow. And this red, this opacified red with the white, will become the top part. So there's my start to trying to lighten that up. All right, now this red over here, oops, I need some clean water. I need a little bit of white, a little bit of red, make some more. I'm just going to use this right on the edge of this apple to give it a little bit of lightness and to kind of establish a highlight just a little bit like that. All right, now excuse me, and I'm going to do the same right in here. We're going to come back with white, but I just want to put some of this lighter red kind of on the top here where the light's going to hit, so the highlight doesn't have to do the entire job. There, we're just going to add a little bit of a light red right there. A little bit more clean water. Just a little bit. And that also breaks this apple from that apple. And the final highlight will help as well. There we go. Now some of this red, I'm gonna add a little bit of purple to that, because that gives me just another shade of purple that I can put over these grapes. Oop, made a mistake. Clean it with, well, it would help if it was clean water. There we go. Just, again, these grapes are purple, but they have some red highlights in them. So we've added that. All right, That pear is going to be last. What I'm going to do is, if you see right here, and right here, because the pear is going to kind of go here. This is supposed to be dark. You're not supposed to be able to see the background through it. So what I'm going to get you to do is take your darkest purple and paint that in as a shadow inside the bowl. You shouldn't be able to see anything there. And then again, when we come back with the highlight at the top of the apple, it will really help establish that. So paint that in with your dark purple, and then it won't look like your apples are just floating in space. A little bit of water if it's too thick. And what I might do is put some more grapes. I haven't decided yet because we are way over time again, and I'm determined to finish this today. We cannot have a part 3. Just going to use that dark to smooth out the edge of the banana. Get the dark in underneath the grape, like that. I'm just gonna do that there, darken that in. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, I am noticing right here at the edge of the bowl, I am missing some banana green. So it just looks like the banana fades away to nothing. So we're gonna establish nice, crisp banana line against the edge of the bowl. Like that. I'm actually gonna carry that banana forward. We're not gonna be, we don't have time to put in the pear. We're not, so this bunch of grapes is eventually gonna move out here very quickly. So I'm gonna paint over that one for now. We will come back and reestablish it. So let's just get this banana in here to about this point. There we go. Nice and smooth against the bowl. There we go. Okay. A little bit of white with a little bit of yellow here. We're going to do the banana highlights. So right along here, it's quite pale. And this is where the light is hitting off the side of the banana. And right up here, a little bit of water. And right along here. And right along the edge, just along the edge here. Like that. All right. Pulling that a little bit to blend it. Just a tad. Just a tad. Okay. Since we're running out of time, let's do some more white. Mostly white, a little bit of yellow in it, just to make it off-white, because highlights aren't actually white. They're not stark white, unless they're off of metal or glass. But off organic objects, it tends to be a little bit yellow. That's too yellow. A little bit more white. There we go. Some water to thin that because we're using our little liner brush. Okay. We are going to finish up these apples. So we're going to be doing the highlights right on the edge, finishing up the apples. So, oops, be careful, Andrea. Put your hand here, and it will support your other hand so that you don't put it in the paint. You can't see that. Let's zoom in here. So what we're doing is we're taking and we're creating the very edge highlight like that. And there's a highlight right here where the apple is shiny. And there is a highlight here at the edge of the apple that the sun is hitting, or the light is hitting. And there is some shine right here. And there's a little bit of shine over here, like that. And on this apple, it'll be the same thing, even though in our picture it's an orange. Basically, it'll be the same thing. There'll be a glint of light right at the shiny edge, like that. And there'll probably be a glint of light right here. And this worked. You can now see how the shadow, that worked. I'm very happy with that. So right over here, I'm gonna, and there'll be a little glint of light there, and probably a little bit of glint of a light over here. Whoop, where are we? Woohoo! Look at that! That is awesome. I am very excited about that. See what a little bit of highlight can do? That's fantastic. All right. Let's just do the highlight here on the plum, because then that means the last thing we have to work on is the grapes. So if you notice here, we have the highlight on the edge of the plum, which we're doing right here, just fine. And then you see where the little stemmy thing, the little stem is, there's a dip here and there's some light there as well. Right here. And then right kind of here, there's a little bit. So it kind of goes in like this. And there is a little bit of shine here. And it's a little bit speckled down here. I'm just gonna rub in a little bit of this color. And there's a little bit of light up here. So what I'll do is I'm gonna take some of my dark purple and my brownish black and just put in a stem like that. I don't know if you can see that, but as soon as it dries, I'll highlight the edge. There's a little bit of black right along in here, and there's a little bit of black in shadow over here. So just a little bit of a wash. That is perfect. Okay, so that stem didn't show up, so I'm going to go right black. I'm going to put a little stem right there in black. And when it's dry, I'll come back and highlight the side of it, and that will help. Okay, this is great. Okay, I'm very excited. And that's the thing with me and painting as well, is when I'm halfway through the painting, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then once you start putting in a little bit of shadow and a little bit of highlight, it totally changes the dynamic of your painting. Now, I want to do something first. I want to take a little bit of this banana green, and I'm not completely happy right here with the lack of smoothness. So I'm just going to re-smooth it. This paint's starting to thicken up. We've been at this for a while. I can come back and highlight in a second. I just need to smooth this. Put paint on the edge, right on the tip, and smooth it down. There we go, that's better. Oops. Okay, I overworked that a little bit. Just smooth that down. What I'll do now is I'm going to take some of the dark purple and I'm just going to paint in back here. And we're just going to establish more grapes, and that will be the end of our painting. So let me just, oh, and I want to fix that right there. Perfect. And there. That's good. A little bit of water, thin that out. And then paint this part here in. We will come back and establish a few more grapes, and that will be that. Our still life will be done. Just want to make a nice smooth edge along the bowl here. And then we're going to fill this in with grapes. As soon as it's dry. There. This is good. So we now have our dark background everywhere. Oh. There. All right. And I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to reestablish my bowl highlight that kind of got, oh, you can't see that. I need to back up again. I'm sorry. There. Just going to reestablish a highlight on the edge of my bowl. I don't know that if you can, yeah, right here, see how the highlight went a little bit too far? Just going to use a damp brush as an eraser to just clean that up a bit. Oops, too wet. Always remember to dab, dab, dab your brush when it comes out of the water. There we go. Cool. All right. So we need to put in some more grapes. So get my filbert brush, clean that out. We're going to take that light color of purple that we had made earlier, and we're going to reestablish these grapes that are going over the banana. And we're going to put one right here that goes over that edge. And one right here. It looks like the end of one. And another one right here. Perfect. And a circle right there that looks like the end of one. Like that. Perfect. Okay. Now, I'm going to just go over some of these again and make them a little bit bigger. Oh, maybe not. No, I'm not. I'm going to maybe widen a few of these. Yeah, because we still need some dark areas. We need some dark areas. So we'll just put this one here. Because we put that red gloss on some of them, this will help distinguish between these. All right, let's take the heat gun. The highlight on this stem. There we go. Dab, dab. All right, so we're down to the grapes. I'm going to zoom in. Now, I've noticed this side of the grapes were darker than this side, and I lost a little bit of that darkness. So I'm going to take my filbert brush, and I'm going to take some of the dark purple and add a little bit of clean water to it to thin it a little bit so that I can just come over here and do a little bit of it needs more water. Just a little bit of a dark wash to just mildly darken these up a bit over here on this side without making them so dark. Just over here. Now, I have to do something else as well. Yeah, right here. I just need to, just a little bit, just to darken some of these ones up on this side. Not as dark as the background, but not as light as the other side. Now I also need to do the following. Taking some of the light purple we made, see right here? That apple is just floating on nothing. So I'm going to actually put a grape here. Like that. and I want to come back here and put another grape here. I know that you can't see that right now. Add just a little bit of dark to it, just so that we might be able to see it. It'll all be in the highlighting later. I'm going to need another grape here. So it looks like the grape is coming over the banana. And I think I'm going to need another grape right here, going this way, underneath here. And I'm going to need something else over here. So that, yeah, that's good. So now I have to be careful. I can't really make too many mistakes because I'm on top of another part of the painting. So over here, there's a little bit of green and a little bit of light, even lighter purple. So I'm going to take some white, just a little bit, mix this in here. Add in a little bit of the green, which seems kind of weird, but I don't want to mix it to make it one color. I just want both shades on the brush at the same time, just so that I can, again, put a little layer, put a little layer, pull along the side here, just pull a little bit here, pull a little bit there, like that. Got to remember to leave these ones on the side. Here at the end, there's definitely some greenish purple right here at the end. And right here, there's a little bit of greenish purple. And on half of this, and half of this. And now I have to decide which grapes are on top. So I'm going to decide that this one here, this here, this grape is on top of that other grape. This grape is back here. This grape is on top. This grape is on top. Dab it on this side. We'll do that in a minute. All right. Again, we're going for an impressionistic view of the grapes. I'm going to need my liner brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the highlight to some of these grapes, and then I'm going to come in after and I'm going to start darkening in between. Oops, you can't see that. We're going to do the highlights on some of the grapes here, and we're going to darken in between with some black. So is this still viable? No. All right, we're going to make a little bit more white and add a touch of yellow to get a highlight color. Oh, need more white. All right. Okay. So we want to establish Oh, we need some water here. It's too thick. We want to establish the highlight on these. Okay, that's too watery. Sometimes the hardest parts can be consistency. Let's try that again. Oop, there's a little goober there. Okay. So we want to go. We want to do that. And we want to establish shine there. And shine here. A little bit of highlight. Oh, I gotta go talk to my husband. Alright, so again, a little bit of shine there. And we have to put a little bit in here to establish the grape out of the darkness. Right? Right on here. Like that. And then a little bit in here, because where there's no light, right? Oh no. Okay. Let me clean that off. Just fix that up there like that. Okay. We have a little bit like that. These are very thin lines. This is just to give the idea of a bunch of grapes. There's a highlight here, a little bit of a highlight here. We're going to put a highlight here, and that now turns that just purple blob into a grape. And then this line establishes that this grape is in front of that grape. See how that works? This has a little bit of a shine here. Oh. There we go. Breaks that from the apple. And put a shine there. This over here. Nice highlight. A little bit of a shine. Ooh, I smudged that. There we go. Got a little bit of a shine here. This grape here only has one tone of purple on it. This is a problem. This is when you can't tell that it's 3D. So we need to take some of the dark purple and darken this half of the grape, or else we can't tell that it's round. And that's what this is about, right? Just making marks that make things look round. So here, when this one is just got a tiny little line and that there. And now when we get to the dark side, it's even less established. Like we're not trying to make every single grape on the dark side. It kind of blends in, but you might want to like a little. My liner brush needs help. I've overworked the poor thing. A little bit of fresh water. So now it's just a matter of giving the idea that there's a grape there. I put too much highlight there. I'm just going to erase it and I will do it again. Very thin. Very thin. Right here. Right here. And maybe just right there at the edge. Oops. Like that. This is dark in here. This is good. Putting more highlight on this side. Oops, let me just dab, dab, dab. Putting more highlight on this makes it look like it's in front of the other grapes. Like it's more forward. And this little round guy here. And I think that this is it. Let me back up. Oop, I see one. Sometimes when you back up, when you stand away from it, your eyes will show you where there's something missing. Right here. Like that. Just there. It will show you where there's something missing. There we go. Again, very, very impressionistic. There we go. Perfect. Now, I don't normally sign my paintings because they're abstract. However, when I do any kind of realism or non-abstract, I will sign my work. So let me just zoom in here one more time. I try to pick a spot where it will be well balanced. On this one, it just, to me, seems like it'll be better here. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems more grounded here. And you try to take an opposite color. So I'm going to use just this yellowish white that we made because it's going to show up on the brown. And you thin your paint down to kind of an ink-like consistency. And you sign. I am not good at signing with a paintbrush. I will avoid it at all costs. I am not really, because I don't seem to feel like I have a lot of control with my brushes, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy abstract work, because I don't have to worry about it. I can do whatever I want. However, now the next one that we do, which is going to be a landscape, I'll show you another way of signing your drawings or your paintings without using a paintbrush. But I suppose we should all learn how to do it enough to say we've tried. There we go, alum. Let me back out and show you our impressionistic painting of a bowl of fruit. Here is the original drawing. Not exact, but you know what? I really like it. Again, once we started doing the highlights, it was really coming together for me and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I hope that you enjoyed this painting. I know it was only supposed to be one class, but I really feel that the 2 classes have paid off. It looks fantastic. Really proud of you guys. Thanks so much for joining me on my artful journey with my niece Gina. I hope to see you again. It's always better when you're here. Bye!